All right, we sorry for the interruption. I someone just called someone just called and interrupted the live session. Someone just called and interrupted the live session. I don't know. This is something I've been trying to avoid. So please do not be annoyed. So we wish to continue from where we are actually discussing on how Europe underdeveloped Africa. How Europe underdeveloped Africa. So I welcome you online, my boss and mentor, an erudite scholar, and he's a good man. He's a wonderful scholar too. Charles Oha, I welcome you. I welcome you here, and I wish you come online. I know you have so many things to contribute to this live discussion, and we all know who you are. We are not actually trying to criticize Rudney or to say what he wrote, what Rudney wrote in 1972 is bad or is not actually involved. What we are trying to do is to what extent should we accept that Europe actually underdeveloped Africa? To what extent? To what extent should we accept that Europe underdeveloped Africa? Or is it not better to say that Africans are underdeveloping themselves? And one of the speakers we heard before the interruption rightly pointed out that Africans are actually underdeveloping themselves. He actually pointed out that Africans are underdeveloping themselves. He illustrated with so many reasons. And he'll be joining us here again because I know so many persons may have one or two questions to ask him. He'll be joining us in no distant time. But like I said earlier on, it's my own opinion. And like I said, everyone is entitled to his or her own opinion. For me, I do not believe in that assertion, which says that Europe underdeveloped Africa. This was something that actually happened long time ago with regard to colonialism. If there was a time European invaded, should I say invaded, because they were actually invited and they came. Should I say because of the gullible nature of our people? Or should I say because of our way of reasoning? They accepted everything. And they never questioned whatever thing the Europeans were saying, or they quickly accepted everything. And remember, before the Europeans actually came to Africa, they were already developed. Just as the first speaker rightly said, they were actually developed. Now, how come somebody comes up to say that Africans developed Europe? And I say, to me, such assertion is false. Such assertion is false. And the first speaker actually pointed it out very clear. Now, how can you say that someone that is already made, he already has everything at his beck and call, and because he comes to your place to settle, after a while, then you thank him that he's the cause of your problem, simply because he's already made. I'm not in this regard saying that there was no impact. prior to the coming of the Europeans to African land, Africans, they never saw anything like light. I could see it could be what Plato was describing in his allegory of the cave, his theory of knowledge. A kind of people that we are in a cave, and then these people came to bring them out from that cave so that they could see the light. But my problem always is, why is it that the effort these people made, even when they came to bring a certain people out from darkness, why has this certain people refused to come out from the darkness? Why have they refused? Remember when Plato was describing these people, Plato said, now somebody actually tried to lure these people out from this cave, to give them. But when they came and saw the light, they became afraid. And then they were trying to run back to the cave. To shelter themselves, because they think that whenever the rays touches their body, that they're going to die. Now, these people came and then actually showed us the way, that this is the way to develop ourselves. This is the way to change from our former way. This is the way to impact in the society and then improve and progress. Why have we, at this point in time, refused to progress? Why have you decided to recline back to what we used to know? What have you? We refuse now to embrace. We refuse to embrace that knowledge that these people brought to us. Why have we refused that? Why has African decided to remain backward and missed everything that the European? Now, when I visited most of this museum in Nigeria before now, and then I came here also where I am now, and I read some books and some articles online, I realized that our problem, just like one of the speakers actually said, the other speakers are still coming, is ideology. Now, when the Europeans came to Africa, what led to slavery? What led to slavery? Because we want to acquire wealth. We want to acquire things that are irrelevant and things that are even, should I say is relevant and non-relevant things? Most of the things our forefathers gathered from the Europeans are irrelevant materials. Could you imagine that our forefathers actually sold 10 persons for a bottle of whiskey? A bottle of whiskey. They sold their own brothers into slavery for a bottle of whiskey. There is no drink in it. There is no wine, nothing. Just because they saw a bottle, something they have not seen. Remember, Plato was describing this allegory of the cave. You've not seen something like this before. You've not seen a pen before. Now, somebody came to show you that this is a pen. And this person is telling you that this is pen. And then you can use it to write your name, write ABC, write whatever you want to write. But you say, no, you don't want to know about this pen. You want to recline back to what you used to know. Why? Why have we refused to accept the fact that actually Europeans did us good than harm? Why should we always continue to apportion blame to the Europeans other than accepting the fact that we are actually underdeveloping ourselves? Why? Because for me, Africans are underdeveloping themselves. And not just what Arudini said. It's his own opinion. Anyone may accept it. Because what he wrote in the last paragraph of his work is that aside of the fact that Africans actually worked for the Europeans, they learned so many things from them. But the problem is, he asked that question, but why I have continued to make assertion to what I read is that this is a book that has been as a kind of, let me say, a yardstick. Maybe whenever you want to judge, you recline to what you need to see what he wrote and then be able to make your own assertion. But he said something towards the end of his work, that even though these people actually gave us this knowledge, Why have we refused to harness this knowledge? Why? What is this setting us backward? Why? The Europeans came to Africa a long time ago, and then they have gone back. Why have we refused at this point in time to embrace that knowledge which they came with? Why are we reclining back to what we used to know? Why is it that the whole of European empire, Africa is being regarded as the most worst corrupt nation? Why is it that today Africans are being referred to as the most worst poorest state in the whole world? Why? Now, before the burial of Queen Elizabeth died. Many people came up with so many write-ups, said so many things. Some said the crown he was wearing when she was alive, was made of diamond, and the diamond was a diamond he acquired from Ghana. Ghana is at where? Africa. And then some said one of the jewelries she was putting on the necklace and the bang, everything, the gold. Some of the golds she acquired from Sierra Leone, most of African countries. And then some said also that she acquired most of the gold that London is known, United Kingdom is known for, with the, from Asia. I don't know the part in Asia, but they said Asia. But now go to those countries now in Asia and see how they are developing, and see what they are doing, loving themselves, helping themselves, appreciating one another. Why is it that it is difficult for an African man to appreciate his or her brother or her sister? Why is it that it is difficult for an African man to see something that is good and then appreciate it? Why? The problem has remained with us: ideology. Just as the first speaker said, ideology. Egocentrism, self-centeredness. It must be me. That it must always be me, only me and nothing more. That has always been the problem. The problem has always been, it mustn't be this person, it must be me. Why must it be you? Now, you want to go there and become the president just to amass wealth for yourself. It was a perfect illustration he made, the first speaker. He said, now, one of the richest presidents we ever had, Nigeria ever had, died long time ago. And then the wealth he amassed for himself and his children, and then just the ones they made us to know, some countries have refused to disclose the actual amount. Just like Switzerland said, oh, because we are good, we want to give back this so amount to Nigerians. And then they released some. You see how funny we are? Imagine how they're laughing at Nigeria. You see how one man could pack so amount of money out of his own country, where he's the #1 citizen of that country. He just emptied the country's purse, and then just a treasure, country's treasure, emptied it, and then poured in another continent altogether. That's Africa. And then he took the wealth of Africa and then to a different continent, Europe. Now, tell me, was he asked to bring that money to Europe? Was he actually asked to bring that money and such amount to Europe? Why would he, as the president of a developing nation, take such amount of money, such amount of, very much, take such amount of money to Europe, and then afterwards you come to tell me that Europe is how Europe underdeveloped Africa, or how Europe is underdeveloping Africa? That is what I've refused to accept. that Europe is actually underdeveloping or underdeveloped Africa. That is what I've refused to accept. Because I see no reason why somebody should come up to say Europe underdeveloped Africa or Europe is underdeveloping Africa. We, the Africans, are underdeveloping ourselves. We, the Africans, are actually underdeveloped ourselves and then continually to underdevelop ourselves. If development, just as they said, Oxford Learners Dictionary actually said that development occurs to change, a paradigm shift. Why have we, the Africans, not made that paradigm shift? Why have the Africans not have changed? A perfect illustration by a famous philosopher we know very well, by Heraclitus, long time ago made an assertion that has made an imprint in the life of every individual, every person living, that no one can step into a river twice and remain the same, and the river will remain the same, because the river is ever flowing, and that is change. For him, change is very constant in life. Now, if change is constant in life, and then we should embrace change every now and then, why has Africa refused to embrace change? Why has Africa refused to embrace change? Would it be a bad thing? Now today, the Arabs, the Arabian nation, they are laughing at Africans. The famous Dubai we know today, people visit every now and then with very huge amount of money just to have a luxurious life, was a desert. The famous Dubai we hear today, people long to go to Dubai. I want to go to Dubai. Where will you be spending your holiday, your summer holiday? Oh, I want to go to Dubai. The famous Dubai we hear and know of today, it was a desert. They also passed through a series of colonialism and slavery. Go and check the history. But what happened today? The famous Dubai, the famous United Arab Emirates, Qatar, will be hosting World Cup. We'll be hosting World Cup because they are developing themselves. In the world today, Arab has the most beautiful and most well-decorated airport in the world. Most beautiful and well-decorated airport in the world, Arab. A place known to be a desert in the past. But why has Africans refused to embrace change? That is the problem. Why? And then each time you want to discuss this issue of how Europe underdeveloped Africa, someone would make a reclaim to Walter Rodney. Yes, there was that exploitation, but, and then, if there was an exploitation when the Europeans came, we gave them the room, we gave them the first-hand information. We told them this is how we are, and this is us. Now take us and make use of us the way you want. We gave them the room, we gave them the opportunity to do so, and they did, and left. Long time ago. But what happened when the Europeans left Africa? Does it mean Africans cannot make use of their brain? Now look at the problem. In Africa, there is no love. In Africa, there is no unity. And that is why you will see in the football pitch, you will see, what is his name? Salah. When you see Salah play football alongside with Mane from Senegal. When you see Salah from Egypt play football with Mane, you see them play like enemies. But these are brothers of same continent, Africa. And that becomes laughable. There is nowhere in Europe that you make a claim that Africa has a good name. And that's because there is no unity, there is no love existing among Africans. In Africa, you get so many saboteurs. Why is it so? Why is it so? Why is it that it is in Africa that you find it difficult to help one another? Why is that when you go to European country, a white person will just see you and ordinarily like you and say, oh, come, I want to assist, I want to give you this, I want to give you that. Why is it not so in Africa? Somebody would always say, it's always good to go to Europe, and when you go to Europe, you will experience a different kind of life, and you actually know that God actually created those people different, which is false, is a false assertion. But he's actually saying it based on what he has encountered in life in Africa. Why would he say that? Because there's no love existing in Africa. Nobody, we don't want to love each other. And we don't care. And we don't care. How can we promote peace in Africa? That should be the pertinent question. And how can we develop ourselves? And the first speaker actually made a perfect illustration. He said, the best way to actually develop ourselves and then develop Africa is not by packing out wealth, irrelevant things. And after securing those wealth, what are you actually going to do with them? You actually leave them behind and go. You actually leave them behind and go. To what extent are the wealth you're securing egoistic altruism? Somebody will come up and make so much promises, and somebody will come up with a humongous budget saying, this is what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do. And when you give the person the opportunity and chance to perform and act in that field where he has made that promise, what he will do is to harness all the wealth, secure it for himself and his family, and off he goes. Why is it so? Can you hear me?
Brother, what's up now? Good evening. Yeah, I can hear you. Good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you very well. Can you hear me?
Okay. So that's the problem. Why is it so in Africa? Yeah. And then somebody will say bro, that topic is of two sides. I wouldn't want to engage in it because, what is because? Yes, we so much believe and know the fact that Europe exploited us. Yes, we know. There was an exploitation. It is clear and distinctive. In fact, it's audible to the deaf and visible to the blind. There was an exploitation. But my problem remains, why have we decided to remain where we are? Why? Why have we decided to remain where? Why can't we proffer solutions to improve? Why can't we change the ideology, the mentality of self-centeredness? Why? Now, the first day I went to one of the documentary in Lagos in Nigeria, in Badagry, precisely. If you haven't gone to that documentary, their museum in Badagry, please make out time to visit Badagry and see and read what happened during this colonialism and how our people, our brothers, sold themselves into slavery. When you go to America today, you will see black Americans. You'll be wondering, how come? Those are people sold into slavery that has multiplied in a foreign country. They don't know the history of their place, and they have remained there. Somebody like Akon, we know him, a famous musician. He's an African man. When Akon tells you his story, how he came to America, he don't know. He was born there. He was brought up and born there. He was born and brought up in America, and he has remained there. Although so many persons has continued to tell
you, brother.
He's from here and he's from there. Although he has continued to act based on what he was told that he's from there or the other side. But the fact remains, what solution have we proffered to ameliorate Africa from this menace, this mayhem? It is in Africa that you record the worst. Not that any other country don't have bad people. There are so many bad people everywhere. But once it is Africa, it will become evidently, and then it will manifest. The whole world will know that this is an African person. Why? And that is because of the image we've painted outside. Now tell me, how rational is it? A normal human being that is serving the nation should ordinarily save in the nation where he's serving, where he's the number one citizen. Tell me the rationale behind it, that such individual will now carry a very huge amount of money to go and save in a foreign bank. As in, a foreign bank, that's a bank that is not in his own country where he is serving as the number one citizen. He's called to serve where you were called to serve, and instead of serving, you in turn made the people that you came to serve you. And then instead of you to save them with what they have, now you decided to amass those things that you should have served them with for yourself, for your own personal interest, and then transfer it to another land, another continent. And then you tell me that that continent is exploiting your own continent. Who does that? Who does that? That is what I've refused to accept. And then I believe this question should be a question of you and I. How do you treat me as a person? How do you treat me as your brother or your sister? That should be the question. I used to say it. It is not all about giving someone around you 1 million, 2 billion, 3 billion. It is not. But the little things that matters in life, that love, caring. Now tell me, one of the basic amenities, ordinarily, every human person should have in life, when you go to Africa, they lack it. When you go to Nigeria now, so many persons will complain of light, no power supply. Why? The Europe you said underdeveloped you or underdeveloping you, they always have constant power supply. Why is it that the case is different? Did they come to Africa to seize the light? Nigeria, for instance, whereby an individual will just ordinarily buy power supply for himself. That is in Nigeria. Somebody will ordinarily buy a power supply for himself. And then he feels happy. He goes home happy that at least he has made enormous impact in the society. How can an individual person run one of the basic amenity, one of the social amenity of life? How can an individual run it? And then you think it's going to work. And then you think it's a perfect thing to do. And then tomorrow, somebody will just wake up and say, Europe is underdeveloping Africa. It is only in Africa that you find it very difficult for the government to train their citizens in school. It's only in Africa. Why is it so? Why is it that it's difficult for us to do that which we know is the right thing? Why? I said it before. That if actually Africans can come together. Now imagine Egypt, which is also a country in Africa. Before you get a visa to enter Egypt is an African country, and they're an African man, and then you want to go to Egypt, you are looking for a visa. No, you are an African man, African person, African woman, African girl, and then you want to go to an African country. Let's say you are in Ghana, and then you want to go to Nigeria. You're looking for a visa. Or let's say you want to go to let me say Egypt. Although Egypt continue to see themselves as foreigners, they are very different from Africa. That is them. Then before you get to Egypt, you queue up, you apply for visa, to be permitted as an African person, and the duration will be given so and so period. But in Europe, once an European person, you are free to go anywhere in Europe. And this is once you're an European person, and then you have your European ID card that shows you're an European man or woman, you are free to go anywhere. But in Africa, even if you have all the identity cards that shows you're an African person, you are still not regarded in any African country. Why? We created an impression that ordinarily shouldn't have been in the mind of people, in the mind of Europeans, Asians, that this is how we are and this is who we are. And it continues to be that way till now. Why can't we change from that? Like I said before I started, remember I begged you, my friend, please share this live discussion. We began earlier, but someone actually, I don't just know. I'm trying to see if I can get a Facebook application for my system, but at least I can have time to use my system, because each time I use my phone to go online, somebody call me. This person actually knew that I will have this program today, and then he called. Though it's not his fault anyway, because he don't know I was using my phone. So please share this live stream. Please, I beg you. Share this live stream. Share the live stream, and encourage your people to follow. Make your comment. The topic we are discussing today is how Europe underdeveloped Africa. How Europe underdeveloped Africa. To what extent? To what extent is that assertion true or false? So please share this. Share this to your timeline. Encourage your followers. Encourage your audience to follow my page. Make your comments. And then if you wish to come online, if you wish to come live and make your own contribution, please, you are welcome. I would like somebody to indicate the interest to come online. Let's have this discussion together. Let's share these ideas together. Somebody should just send a request and then I will bring you live. Let's discuss together. Let's share these ideas. This is something that concerns us. It's about us, the Africans. I want us to discuss this extensively and then provide solution. And then just know, as we progress, we continue to discuss and then provide the solution. Please share this to your timeline. Encourage your followers to make their comment. And then if they wish to come live and say something, encourage them, let them come live. Let's discuss. So like I said before, earlier on, before now, I said before that development is a process that creates growth, progress, positive change, or the addition of physical, economic, environmental, social, and demographic components. Now, if development actually has to do with physical, economic, environmental, and social, what stops Africans from growing from these aspects? What stops Africa from growing from these aspects that actually creates growth? Although sometimes they say development, well, it's visible, useful, not necessarily immediately. However, that something that happened many years ago that Walter Rodney has to write in 1972. Look at the period of time. Imagine the period of time Walter Rodney wrote his book, How Europe Underdeveloped Africa. Till this moment, Africa has remained in this state. Backwardness. Why? Does it mean that Africans can't grow? Does it mean that African country can't grow? Should we actually allude to what I will not mention his name now, what he said, that actually these people were created differently from Africans, Europeans, which I've personally refused to accept. If we should go by the Christian ideology that we are all made in the image and likeness of God, whether white or black, why has Africa refused to change? Why have they refused to grow? Why can't we create a meaningful environment that people would long to see and visit? Like I said, today, people trooping in and out of Dubai simply because they have worked in their economy. Remember, development has to do with economy. They has worked on their economy. So, hello, Sorry for the inconveniences, and you're welcome back to this live session, comrade Weke Daniel Uchenna. So before the interruption, I wanted to ask you some questions. You know, before you
Okay.
were addressing the public and then the issue at hand, you made mention of economic growth, political growth, that is economic development, political development, and yeah, human development. So I would like you to illustrate more on these three: economic development, human development, and then political development, with regard to how Africans have underdeveloped themselves. Because although it's my own opinion, and I believe we both share in that opinion, that Africans are underdeveloping themselves and not otherwise, as they said, that Europe underdeveloped Africa. So how would you put these three arms of development to how Africans, how will you connect this? When we are giving out your point, you made mention of this in passing. So I want you to substantiate more on these three: political development, economic development, and human development.
Uh, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. I believe you can hear me.
Yes.
Okay. Now, for a country to develop economically, it is determined by the extent at which that country improves in their means of production. The extent at which that country developed in their means of production. That is to say, economic development has to be brought about by an improvement in the means of production. So a country that has no means of production for itself cannot develop. And using Africa as a case study, or using Nigeria typically as a case study, it is worrisome to tell someone that even toothpick we use to remove something that hangs in our teeth is produced majorly from Malaysia. That we import even toothpick. So we lack the means of production. We lack the means of production. So economically we are backward because we are not interested in investing in the means of production. We are not. Now politically, sometimes when we say that Europe underdeveloped Africa, I ask myself, did Europe teach Africans how to collect bribe? Because today we see almost all Africans, not all Africans now, but almost all Africans cannot do without bribe. Did the Europeans teach Africans the art of embezzlement? Because in Europe, the people don't embezzle proudly. There are some arts of embezzlement in Europe, but these things are not done proudly. But in Africa, someone can embezzle with every form of pride. He tell you, I did this, I cheated him. You see that woman, I just cheated him. It is something someone brags about. Does that happen in Europe? You see an African that travels to Europe, you see him living a decent life over there in Europe. That is to say that such thing doesn't happen in Europe.
Oh my God, what happened? It seems we lost the speaker. Since we lost the speaker again. I don't know. Since we lost the speaker. But nonetheless, I think we'll still come back live. I think we will still come back live. We just lost the speaker. Okay, he's here again. Oh, somebody wants to join. I'm just trying to bring him. Seems he got a call also. He's still talking. Maybe someone interrupted. See, we lost the speaker. Maybe I don't know what happened at the end. I think he will try to join again. But before that, let's continue till he comes live again. Like I said, if actually Europeans exploited Africans, if actually there was that form of exploitation as we already claim to, why does it seem to me, and I know to others too, that we are the ones exploiting ourselves? Why? I mean, when a leader who's supposed to show the followers the way, I mean, this is the way it should be, in a manner for which both the leader and the follower would enjoy it later on. And then the leader does otherwise. When I speak of a leader, I'm not just particularizing it. A leader cuts across every form of life, both in politics, in religion, anywhere you are a leader. Why does it seem to me that most times they lord it over to the followers just as it happened? Just as it happened in the Bible. Why does it seem to me that our leaders are actually exploiting their followers in Africa? And that is why Africa is not growing today. I mean, because the mentality of our people, the ideology of our people to acquire and then continue to acquire. It is true in economics, they say the love of having increases by having. No debate, no doubt. But that is someone's opinion. Why does it seem to me that opinion came from a white man? But that white man that said that made that opinion, has only one shoe. And then he makes use of that one shoe at a time. And then after which, when that one gets off, he gets a new one. Maybe the old one he gets or she got in the past is about wearing off. He or she will quickly get another one and throw that one away. But that assertion of the law of having increases by having is an economist. Why does it seem each time we try to talk, they say because the European, the capitalist country, and why can't we make ours? If actually, because it's a capitalist country, that's why they are progressing. Why can't we actually become a capitalist country so that we can progress, Africans? Or is it a taboo? Is it a taboo for Africa? I'm not talking about individual person. Of course, there are so many individual persons in Africa that are actually But what I'm saying is not all about being rich or having anything you want at your beck and call. No. We're talking about the idea of development. In political development, look at the level we are today. In my own country, Nigeria, in political development, just look at the level we are today. In my own country, Nigeria, imagine in a case whereby ordinarily a man who's supposed to have retired long time ago from anything that has to do with public appearance would come up to become a leader. Ordinarily, such person should have been foreclosed from speaking or talking or saying anything. He should be consulted whenever need be. Such individual should be consulted whenever need be. But the person comes up to tell you that it is his own turn to take up power because he fought, he made sure. I mean, the mentality of our people. It is your own turn. And not the right thing, but your own turn. It's laughable. Politically, in Africa, where in Europe, have you seen somebody carrying a PVC, permanent voter's card, and I want to go and cast my vote? Don't the confine of your room, you just select whom you want to vote and send online electronically. But it's not done in Africa because not that they don't have the power or the will, but because they want to rig an election and rig themselves into becoming a leader because they want to exploit the people they want to lead. I used to ask myself, all these taxations, all this money that borrowing from foreign nation, they said it's for development. Where are the money today? Where has it gone to? Sometimes, personally, when I think like this, I will just sit down and I feel bad. So why? How do we get here? How do we get to this level? To a point that everybody sees something evil as good. How do we get to this level? Why is it that it's not like I said, not that Europe is free from corruption or any other thing, but for the fact that in Africa, that is where you get the maximum. I mean, a large number of persons that perpetrate this act of corruption daily. And that has become my own problem. Why? Why does it seem that Africa do not want to change and do not want anything that will bring development in Africa? Why does it seem to me that we don't want to progress? Why? Or since people continue to say that Europe underdeveloped Africa, so we should also say that Europe actually taught us how to be corrupt. Is it? No, we can actually say that Europeans actually taught Africans how to be corrupt. Or we can say that Europeans actually taught Africans how to hate each other. I said it initially. As an African man, if you are from Ghana, if you want to go to Egypt today, you pass series of scrutinization before you enter Egypt. But you're an African man. That same Europeans that Africans continue to criticize, to say, they underdeveloped or they exploited us. Today, once they show their ID card that they are citizens, Europeans, they can go to any European country. Why is it not so in Africa? But a Nigerian person can freely go to Ghana or go to any other African country, Gabon, anywhere. Without any problem. I'm not here saying that politicians are the only ones perpetuating the evil. The evil is you and I. You and I. But why I continue to point towards politics? Because these are public figures. These are the leaders that through as an instrument, through them, that a nation could develop and change from where they used to be. The illustration we made earlier on about Plato's allegory of the cave still stands for me. You were shown light, but you prefer to be in darkness. Because you know, while you're in darkness, you can do all manner of things, all sorts of things. That's why you prefer to be in darkness. You think nobody sees you while you are perpetrating an evil in the dark? Why is it that it's only in Africa that you see somebody want to retain an office? And because he wants this office, he don't want another person to come to that office, he finds a way to step on. Now tell me, I used to say it. If you step on someone's toe in order to become something else, remember the office you are vying for, where you want to occupy, somebody was there before you. And then even when you leave, somebody will still come after you. Why the rancor? That is what is setting us backward and nothing more. I mean, does it mean actually that Europeans came to Africa and because of that, they instilled the ideology of hatred? They instilled the ideology of corruption. They instilled the ideology of underdevelopment. Such ideology must have come from everyone and not from them. Remember, I said my own opinion, it's not superior, and everyone is entitled to his or her own opinion. You may have your own opinion. Even Walter Rudney, who wrote the book, his own book in 1972, actually said something. So even though there was an exploitation, there was a supposed benefit from that colonialism, and that was the knowledge. The knowledge that this is pen, and then you can comfortably say today that this is pen. And then tomorrow, they say, today is Wednesday. You can comfortably say, oh, it's Wednesday, it's Friday. Do you have the knowledge before? And then, instead of appreciating that, we could recline back. And that's because we continue to. I'm not saying it's not good to always flash back to the past. The past helps to prepare our to give meaning to our present. The past helps to give better meaning to our present and then to prepare us for the future. That is it. A perfect look. So even at that, why is it that we don't want to make use of the past to prepare to give a perfect meaning to our present life, our present situation? Why is it that so many persons, even when you know that what this person is about doing is evil, and then you want to support? I said, a situation whereby ordinarily an old man who's supposed to have been, like, should be resting. Ordinary shouldn't be appearing in any public gathering for anything, for any reason. We come up to say that it is on turn to become a leader, to rule. And then because this power thought, this power mindset, no, it's our own turn. And then it becomes debatable. Actually, he has labored, and because of that, let us give it to him. And then after exploiting the people and setting the people backward, then you turn back to say, oh, it is Europe. You turn back to say, oh, it's actually Europe that is underdeveloping us, Africa. Oh, it's actually Europe that has made it so. I do not understand. Is it Europe that made the African currency to be valueless? Like in Africa today, the currency becomes useless when it meets any of the European currency. So Europe actually made it so to devalue the currency in Africa. So Europe actually made the lives of the citizens in Africa to be very hard for them and unbearable. So it's actually the making of the Europeans. So actually, Europeans, I don't even understand it. And sometimes today, Africa becomes a laughing stock and a place of refuse. Where Europeans come to dump their refuse, because most of the things we ordinarily should be doing, we are not doing. We can't produce. We are not productive. That is on the aspect of the economic development. And then in my own place, the people call it okrika. It's very terrible. Okrika, they'll call it okrika. That is clothes, aqua. Something this European person has used and then threw away. They'll go and gather it, sent to Africa. They threw it away. They are not using it. They didn't say, come and buy. Same African man, we go and pick them, gather them once, and load them and then ship it to Africa. Africa became a dumping refuse. And then we continue to say Europe underdeveloped Africa. I continue to say it that Africa has continued, and then until they reconfigure that ideology, Africa has continued to underdevelop and then underdevelop themselves and be underdeveloping themselves. Ordinary sunshade. African country can't produce. Ordinary rubber. This. You look for, you see made in China. You see made in China. It bothers me. It bothers me because I'm involved. I'm an African person. And it pains me each time I continue to see my African brothers and my African sisters out there suffering, receiving all sorts of insults simply because you're an African person. If Africans should come together like one, if Africans should come together like one as they used to be, the energy African people have, if they should put the energy together to work to develop Africa, honestly, Europe will not see Africa. Europe will not see the back of African nations. If all the African countries should come together under one umbrella, under the umbrella of love and unity, and then to change and impact on the life of their people. Now look at it. Today, some certain countries in Africa are suffering from flood. People are dying. People are dying on a daily basis from this disaster. I won't call it natural disaster. Cameroon, Nigeria, all parts of Africa, people are dying today. But some countries in Africa can't even go to the rescue of their fellow brothers and sisters in African country. And then tomorrow we say that Europe is underdeveloping us. How can we say that? How can we say that? Ordinarily, I would have loved to narrow this thing down, even to my own country, and then narrow it down to states. But I said no. We should start from the top and then come to the bottom. It is only when you and I decide to imbibe love, unity, that is when we can grow economically. That is when we can grow economically. Ordinarily, we can't grow. We still remain on this peripheral level where we are today. And then we continue to channel or apportion blame to the Europeans, that Europeans underdeveloped Africa. Actually, when I read this work by Walter Rudney in 2016, it made a very huge impression on me. I wrote a very perfect, I think 2-3 page typed summary of that work by Walter Rudney. Just some points I made. But today I've come to realize that, not that what he said is not true, that's his own opinion. Like I said, he's entitled to his own opinion. But now I've refused to accept the fact that Europe underdeveloped Africa. Africans are the ones underdeveloping themselves. Not just that Africans underdeveloped, African countries underdeveloped themselves, but they continually to underdevelop themselves, and they are underdeveloping themselves. Now they are underdeveloping themselves. That ideology of what concerns you does not concern me is still there. So the Europeans instilled that ideology in Africa. I mean, in African minds, they instilled the ideology that when you see your African brother suffering, you shouldn't go to the rescue of that African brother. I mean, that is just the message. Which I personally, I do not accept that. I don't know, but for me, I continue to say it. There is no how, until tomorrow, that I will accept the fact that Europe underdeveloped Africa. Or just as what Rodney would postulate, that Africa developed Europe. Africa never developed Europe. A capitalist nation that was already developed before they came to Africa. How will you now say that it was Africa that developed Europe? Yes, we know that Africans were sold into slavery by their African brothers. Yes, we know. Africans were sold. Go to Ghana, same thing. Go to Cameroon, same thing. Come to Nigeria, same thing. Africans were sold into slavery by same African man that today is shouting that Europe underdeveloped us. Then I will say, because they want to grow, they quickly cast in. Now, since you want a bottle of whiskey, and then in exchange of 10 persons, no problem, we are ready to give you. Then we are already producing a bottle of whiskey, and we are already taking liquor and alcohol and all those things. It wasn't in Africa. Not that we don't have it, but to harness it. And now people came and showed you the way to harness it. Instead of us to make use of that knowledge, just like Plato in Allegory of the Cave, we could not run back. We say, no, we don't want to. We want to remain. We want to remain under your patronage. We want to. We fly to your patronage. No, we want you to be providing for us. We don't want to be productive. And there comes about all this issue of importation every time. Ordinarily, what we produce ourselves, we import. We import. Why is it that it is only in Africa that you will not get any country that can produce phone, handset? Phone, ordinary phone. It is only in Africa that you can get where you can produce. You say, oh, this is what Ghana is producing. Ghana is producing phone. This is the phone Ghana is producing. Or this is the phone Nigeria is producing. Or this is the laptop. The only thing they can do is to assemble materials and then fix. They can't produce. Not productive. How can a nation that is not productive grow or develop? Or is it that the Europeans actually caused us not to grow when they came? Does it mean they actually stopped any form of development? Politically, they stopped. Economically, they equally did so. The fact remains that we are the ones doing ourselves. We are the ones doing ourselves. Not until we realize the fact that our problem is us. We can't grow. Not until we realize that the problem is actually from us. We can't grow. And then it's only when we realize that and accept the fact that the problem is from us, that is when we work on it. You see your African brother that is struggling to grow and become somebody. You are looking for a way to pull the person back. You are looking for a way to pull the person backward, to come back to square one or square zero. He's an African brother or sister that is just trying to grow. You are looking for a way to pull the person back. You gossip. You gossip and say all sorts of things against the person just to put the person backward. Why does it seem like we don't want progress? I'm just trying to bring in one of our guest speakers. So that he will talk to us, he'll give us his own point of view on what we are discussing. He's coming online. Just trying to bring him. He was actually the one that called me when this section was interrupted and I had to start up the processes again. Like I said, it wasn't actually his fault. He didn't know that I was using my phone for this broadcast. So he didn't know. So, and I wouldn't blame him on that regard. So I'm just trying to see, I'll bring him in now. He was actually in the church. So like I said, some country celebrates the feast of Christ the King, or solemnity of Christ the King today. And of course, as Christians, you need to show that in not just in confession, professing it, but the outward appearance. You need to show actually that this is what you believe, and people sees you practicing what you believe. So let me try to bring him live so that he will give us his own idea on the topic we are discussing today: how Europe underdeveloped Africa. I believe in no distant time he shall be here, and I will introduce them. I will introduce him, and some other persons will also be joining us in no distant time. I will equally introduce them. So like I said, share this our live broadcast. Share this our live broadcast and let people make your comment. Make your comment. Please make your comment. Just type it. Comment. Say anything that you know. If what I'm saying is not true, just say it. If it is not in line, if you have anywhere you would like to correct the impression, please just write it down. Write it on the comment section. Let people read it. Is it true? Are Europe actually underdeveloped us, or Africans underdeveloping themselves? Just write it down. Share this live broadcast. Please share this live broadcast. Share it. Share to your timeline. Share this live broadcast I played with you. Just share and let people hear our view on this. Share it your time. I'm pleading. Please share this live section on your timeline. Share it on your timeline. Make your comment. Let people hear our view on this. Now, we are still saying something with regard to economic development. Economic development. So how can we develop when we are not productive? Now, when the Europeans came and then bought our brothers, our sisters, and took them to their place to work for them, they went and worked in their farms. In their farms. They worked in their farms. Sugarcane farm, and oh my goodness. They worked in their farm and they're actually producing sugar and so many things for them. Yes. They automatically became their property. And there was nothing. Oh my goodness. It's just laughable. Why does it seem this way? Because we are the ones doing ourselves. If Africa decide today to rise above this, believe you me, if Africa decides today to rise above this, to rise above this old orientation that the underdevelopment came as a result of the European. They never invaded the land, they came. Just as we Africans visit their own territory today. Why is it that today, when you as you visit European country, they will not give you the opportunity to go to every nook and cranny of their country? Why? But when they came, we gave them, in fact, we were actually carrying them about, showing them places, telling them this is who we are. And then we'll continue to say that they underdeveloped us. That assertion could be true to a certain, like I said, it's not as if they never exploited Africa. They did. And it's quite obvious. They did. But what I'm actually saying in essence is that after the exploitation, they left to their place. What happened? What happened? So we can't grow from that. What happened? So we can't ordinarily, you know, I'm trying to bring our next speaker online. trying to bring him. Like he's finding it difficult to connect. I'm just trying to bring him. Maybe it's already late here, but we need to eat. In Africa, everything is relatively expensive, yet they have a devalued currency. And then everything is expensive too. There is nothing they subsidize. The leaders will subsidize for the Africa, their citizens. I'm actually trying to bring in one of the guest speakers before we conclude this. Before I'll go into human development. So we've talked about economic development, political development, and then our last arm will be human development, and then we'll close for the day. I'm just trying to bring in one of the speakers. You really need to, because it's finding it difficult to come online. No, I'm just looking for a way to bring in. I believe in no distant time he will come online. All right. As we wait for him to come. So on the human development, we can't ordinarily shy away from it. Human person needs development. And one of the development you can give to a human person is education. Education. I mean, same European country, same Europe that underdeveloped Africa we run to study. We run to study. Why is it that it's not as if Africa does not have well-equipped universities, but to what extent are the universities in Africa equipped? To what extent are the schools in Africa equipped? There are so many intellectuals in Africa that today they go to European countries to teach and then to work under certain pressures, under certain rules. So many good men and women out there that are well educated. But because the environment is not quite conducive for learning, they want to leave Africa and go to Europe to learn. So it does also mean that it's the European nations that actually stops us from equipping our schools in such a way that it will be a conducive environment for studies. I mean, somebody will be a graduate of biochemistry. A graduate of biochemistry, but he or she doesn't know what crimination is all about. I mean, a biochemist student. Because there are no laboratory equipment to practicalize the theoretical aspect of the knowledge. You see, students, they labor morning, afternoon, and night to read and understand and to pass exams. Now they have gotten the theoretical aspect of the knowledge, but to practicalize it becomes a problem. Reason being that the schools are not well equipped. And I would ask, is it also the European nation that stops Africa from equipping their schools? Why is it that it's only in Africa you see a very large number of students, school drop out, people that don't want to study, either because of financial status, there's no money, they don't have money, or because the environment is not favorable? I mean, after studies, what next? After studies and getting the certificate and having the knowledge up here, what next? So that after your many years of being in the university, your certificate becomes a mirage, like it's nothing. You end up learning the skills, one or two hundred something to do, and some persons that never went to school will answer billionaires, and even acquire doctorate degree. Like they will be given the honorary award of doctor or professor in any field of their choice. Someone that has not touched school throughout his or her life. I mean, it baffles me most times when I sit like this to see that, oh, these so individuals in Africa, they are being recognized by so universities simply because of the money they have made. And the money they made for themselves alone and not for the nation. And then the ones that have acquired the knowledge, they have acquired the knowledge and they have the knowledge they can give to the society. They are not regarded. And some persons that would ordinarily love to be in school will say, oh, after my studies, what will I be? So it's better I don't engage in that, since it will be a waste of time. And they will opt out from being in school. Is it not what the writer of the scripture would portray in is that Hosea? My people perish for lack of knowledge. Is Africa not perishing today? Is African nations not perishing today for lack of knowledge? Not that I don't know. They know. But because they have refused to channel their knowledge in the right direction, that is why they are pain. We are suffering. Nothing more. That is why we are suffering. Now, not until all the leaders in Africa comes to realize, I said it before, and drop out the ideology, the mentality of egoistic altruism. Like, this is, you want to construct roads because you know this road leads to your house, and that is why you want to construct the road, so that whenever you are coming in, you move straight to your house and park and then rest. You are not just doing it for the interest of the mass or the public, but for your own interest, egoistic altruism. But until we realize the fact that human person need to be developed and not just, that is when Africa will start to grow. Aside of that, it will remain that way. And like I said, this does not just have to do with politics. It goes across every sphere of life, like I said, be it in religion, religious life, or political life. It's everywhere. So long as you're a human person and you're an African person. It's no longer the earlier the better, because it's already late, but no time is late. What I've tried to do today is not to criticize Walter Rudney's work. No. No. I've not come to criticize his work. Rather, I've actually come here to make my own point with regard to how Europe, whether Europe actually underdeveloped Africa. And my point is very clear. Like I said, for me, that assertion that Europe underdeveloped Africa, for me, it's my own opinion, is false. Rather, Africans are underdeveloping themselves. Africans are underdeveloping themselves. We have all the resources. Now, the unjust distribution of wealth in Africa, that is what is setting the Africans backwards. If everything should be distributed evenly, power shares accordingly, then that development we are yearning for will come. That development we've been expecting, that development, that change we have wanted, we had ever wanted, the African man had ever wanted, will be there. But for so far as we continue to see each other as this one is from Ghana, this one is from Togo, this one from Senegal, this one is from Cameroon, this one is from this or this, and not he's an African brother, and there will continue to be problem. And that backwardness will continue to be there. I have no problem with Walter Rodney's work. It's a work that has received many criticism in the past, both constructive and otherwise. But I just say it in my own opinion. I refuse to accept the fact that Europe underdeveloped us. After explaining the political development, economic development, and then the human development, and then we see that we have failed in these three arms of development. We have failed in these three arms of development. So I've actually refused to accept the fact that Europe underdeveloped Africa. Rather, Africans underdeveloped themselves. And then it's not until we realize the fact that we actually underdeveloped ourselves, that is when we'll not come back. And then before I end this session, I would want to say, until we accept, just as Plato painted in his allegory of the cave, until we accept to come out from that cave to embrace the light, there is nothing like development. Rather, things will continue to be worse and worse and worse. Sometime Nigeria used to be giant of the nation. Where is it today? Why the backwardness? I mean, where was Europe when Nigeria was giant of the nation? But today, what happened? Bribery and corruption has spoiled everything. And then we owe everything. We blame it to Europeans. I'm not saying there's no way you can get bribery and corruption. But in as much as it affects development of a nation, then it's evil. And then evil should be uprooted. So to argue that Africans or Europe underdeveloped Africa, that it's true, for me, it's a wrong argument. No one should engage in it. You should ordinarily say that Africans are underdeveloping themselves. Africans are underdeveloping themselves. And then until, like I said before, until we come out from that cave, we will remain in that, and then we continue to remain in that. Africa needs to experience serious fresh air. Africa needs to experience serious fresh air. But they are not getting that. I say it. Try to apply like you want to go to Egypt and see, as an African person, and see how you will suffer before they get you in. You're an African man. You have an African passport and so many identity cards that shows you're an African person. Same African brother of yours will deny you access to the African country. What irony. It's so ironical. I believe that if Africa wants to grow, if Africa actually wants to grow, it's very simple. Let them come together. Let them come together. Once we are united, they said united we stand, but divided we fall. Once that unity exists, there will be cohabitants. There will be cohabitants. But once it's not there, this topic will continue to be there. Just as they said that Africans has continued to struggle over time, and the topic will been discussed for a very long time. Yes, we know. Nobody stole power from Africa. Yes, there was a perfect relationship between Africa and Europe. There was an exploitation, but then, after many years, why did we choose to remain on that? Why? Now, if our development should actually come when we break up from the capitalist nation, why can't we break up from the capitalist nation and then grow? Why can't we now? Some persons do not even know that this civilization we are talking about actually started from Africa. It actually started from Africa, Egypt, pyramids, and the rest of the development. Why did Africa suddenly stop developing their nations? Why? Does it mean at some point they dislike development? or they no longer enjoy development. Even if the colonizers demonstrated this sense of exploitation in Africa, did they actually force us to embrace division among ourselves, among Africans? Something that happened long time ago, 14, 15, 16,000, 14, 16, long time ago. Yes, even if this imperialism was largely practiced by Europe in the 19th century and was widely accepted all around the world, Britain, France, Germany were the major imperialist power in Africa. Yes, France, as all countries were in constant struggle to become the most powerful. Then, now these countries were mentioned were already capitalist nation and they were already rich. Now, if actually they came to Africa and then exploited us, then many years ago they went back. Why have we not loosed from that bond? If at some point we say they exploited us, we also benefited from them because they came with so many things. They came with education, religion, and so many others. Which actually, although, should I say, because of the imperialism, the indirect assimilation of their own culture, we accepted religion and then through our own, Africans through their African traditional religion, and then accepted the white man's religion. Good. Now, for the fact that we accepted and still hold their own, tenaciously, very tight, that we don't want to lose it. Now, you hold their own tradition very dear to you, and then you are throwing your own tradition off. You don't even want to reclaim your own tradition, and then you still blame them for underdeveloping you. You said what they did to you is wrong, and then you don't like it. Yet, you continue to hold tenaciously to their own belief. Why not pick up yourself from where you have scattered it? This is what you don't like. You dislike it. And yet, at the same time, you don't want to disassociate from what you dislike. This is just the way Africans think and reason. You don't like a thing, but you still don't want to disassociate from that thing which you don't like. And yet you continue to blame that same thing which you don't like. But you don't want to disassociate yourself from that which you don't like. How can you grow? No, I would not say it. We are the ones oppressing ourselves. As it stands now, Africans are the ones oppressing themselves and not Europeans. At any point you go to European country and they see you and throw stone on you and do anything, you accept it. It's your own lot. Although my greatest worry is that it's only the innocent ones that suffers it all. The innocent ones, people that don't even know what happened, they are the ones that suffers it worse. People that are not in power. But ordinarily, those ones that are in power, that supposedly they should have acted, have refused to act. How will they grow? How will Africa grow? Slavery. How did it start? This issue of slavery, the trade in slave, which was facilitated by African rulers, the leaders. Greed, phylosophy, greedy. I said, when you visit Badagry documentary of slavery, you will see the traditional ruler in Lagos then took a bottle of whiskey in exchange of 20 human persons. 20. Yes, you could say, yeah, it's an exploitation because this person has no knowledge, but they already told you that this is a bottle and you said you want it. And then you took a bottle of whiskey just to sell your own brother or your sister. I don't even understand it. A bottle of whiskey today has no value. Just because you see inscription, something written on it, that you don't even know the meaning of what is written on it, and you say it, you like it. So the issue of slavery, and it was facilitated by the traditional rulers. The African rulers were the ones that became the chief facilitators of slavery. The Europeans didn't come to kidnap anybody. They didn't come from their place to kidnap anybody in Africa. And they didn't live in Appian Way. They left through the normal series, through shipping and everything. And people were seeing them in a broad daylight, and they left. They were doing their business as a capitalist nation. They were just doing their business, buying properties, called human being properties, and then taking them to their farm to work on their farms. And then we are collecting umbrella, umbrella. Because you don't know what is umbrella. You don't know what umbrella is all about. You collect umbrella. Then you, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. You collect umbrella. No. A very heavy umbrella. When I visited that documentary in Lagos, and the one that I'm here to visit now, which people have been telling me of, is Ghana. And if I see anybody that could assist me get to Ghana to see that, I think I one day visit that place in Ghana, because I would want to know more on this slavery. I would want to know more. It was so terrible. It was so terrible. My problem is after the wars, all the wars that we have fought, after the wars, Africa started to gather themselves and to build up themselves again. But my problem is, are we independent from Europe? I mean, after the colonialism, slavery, imperialism, all this transatlantic trade and all those stuff. Are we really now independent? Are Africans really independent from Europe? The answer is no, because we have refused to give away those things, those ideologies, those things which we know are not helping us to grow politically, humanly, and economically. And that is why Africa is not productive today. So I believe, before I conclude this, I believe Africa can grow and do much, much better and impact in the whole world as they have been doing before now, if only they will come together. If only a Ghanaian will see Nigerian as one, Cameroonian, an Egyptian, Zambia, Gabon, and so on, we see each other as one, and then come together. When you are together, when you are one, you can perfectly fight your common enemy. But whereby this one is going this way, this one is going this way, and there's no point of convergence, no point of meeting, divergence, everybody connects to get this way, there will be no peace. And where there is no peace, there will be no development. So, and with this, I say thank you to my audience today for listening to me. And then please, I beg you, don't forget to share this broadcast. Don't forget to share it. It's my small contribution to what has become a topic over the ages with regard to Africa, how Europe has underdeveloped Africa or is underdeveloping Africa. So, and like I rightly said, for me, Europe never underdeveloped Africa. Rather, Africans are the ones underdeveloping themselves. And then to emancipate ourselves from that slavery, we need to embrace peace, love, and unity. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for listening to us today. And remembrance. Next time we shall go live, I will make our time to maybe to reschedule because of the time factors between where I am and where you are. That everybody will join. Feel free to make your comment. Feel free to make your comment and share our discussion. Don't forget to share our discussions. Thank you and goodbye.